Ons gesels vanaand oor die persoonlike oorgang van 'n werknemer na entrepreneur of 'n sake-eienaar. Nicci Stewart, die stigter van the Why effect wat individue help wat individue hiermee bystaan, sluit nou by my aan. Nicci, hallo.
Hi.
Nicci, you see a lot of people that go from salaried individuals to now owning their own businesses. What is the typical mistakes that they make during this transition?
A lot of people, when they make that transition, they end up going from being an employee of one business to being an employee of another. And when you run your own company, you have to understand that you don't have that infrastructure supporting you. So the sales, the marketing, the admin, that becomes your responsibility. And most importantly, the more high-level stuff, you have to be the strategic driver behind the company. So you have to start becoming a leader and thinking that way and taking responsibility for that instead of just being a worker and a cog within the system.
It sounds to me that you also need a cross skills that you would normally not need when you were a salaried individual. Would you then say it's anybody can run a successful business?
I believe yes. I know there's a big debate about whether entrepreneurs are born or made, but I believe anybody who's got the determination and the self-awareness to admit that these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, and finding people to support them where you are weak. Anybody can run a successful business if you really want to do that.
If I'm a person that I'm only thinking of starting a business, I haven't even gone through the process of this is my idea and this is the steps, what's the typical first steps that a person that just has an idea should take?
I would say fleshing out that idea and working on some sort of basic business model where you look at what are the potential revenue streams, because people do come up with ideas where there is no revenue stream and you actually can't make money from that. So actually just looking at that and working it out and looking at areas where you could possibly earn money from that idea.
So if I'm a salaried individual and I want to make this big jump, often the risk is I go from earning a salary to making absolutely no money. Is it your advice that a person should have open the business while they actually earn the salary? In other words, have a side hustle and kind of test the idea. Are you seeing more and more of that?
Definitely. I'm a big fan of side hustles. Whether you're looking to make the transition into full-time or not, or whether you're just doing it as to earn an extra income or more creative outlet, something different, something to challenge you, I like the idea of making that transition slowly because it does minimize the risk. So many businesses go under because the owner is not earning an income. You need to earn a living. And if you can make that transition slower and smoother, it does make it easier. But it's tricky because you do have a day job and you are building this thing up at night or in your personal time. Yeah. So it can be a little bit difficult and it does require a lot of commitment.
So now I go from idea to I want to actually start my business. So I know one part is actually registering that business. Talk us through how does that process work?
So it's actually not as complicated as people think it is. It's very cheap. I mean, to register a PTY at the moment, I think costs about 125 Rand. You can do it yourself directly on the SEPT website. Or a lot of banks are now doing it for free, encouraging businesses to open bank accounts with them, so they follow that process. There are loads of people who will help you and support you through the process, but it really isn't complicated to do it.
So people think that you need a lawyer. Is that even needed?
I've never used a lawyer to register a company, and I've registered 3.
Sure.
So it's definitely not necessary. It's something you can really do yourself.
So let's talk about the compliance part. In other words, SARS, tax, baie. That's often, if I think about me opening up my own business, I really knew nothing about that. How can I prepare myself for the compliance part and the laws associated to running a business?
There's a lot of information out there. Funnily enough, the SARS website is a wealth of information. And a lot of the big tax consultants put out regular blog posts with information that's very user-friendly, it's very layman's terms, it's very understandable. And my advice would be to learn the very basics and work with somebody who is an expert. But once you know the basics, you know you're not going to get ripped off and you know you're not going to get into trouble.
Your advice on working from home or getting an external office? I know there's some thoughts around that, but yeah.
Getting an external office is tricky because there is a cost involved. But in the last 3 to 4 years, there's been an explosion of open workspaces in Joburg. I mean, we've actually now had one of the biggest in the world moving into Rosebank. So one of the benefits is that this has brought the price down quite drastically. And they also focus on creating communities. So you have people around you who are potential clients. You have people around you who are potential partners and collaborators. So you don't end up working from your spare room isolated and alone. You have a community of people around you. Yeah. And a lot of the costs are really, really affordable. So at the moment, I would really encourage people to look into open workspaces and almost write the cost off to marketing, yes, because you are amongst people who could become, yes, your clients.
Opening up a business in your own industry, in other words, the industry that I knew. I came from banking, went into restauranteering. Mm-hmm. That's quite a big move. Is it not better to kind of, start a business in an industry that you actually know more about?
It depends on what you want to do. If it's your dream to become a restaurateur and you come from a banking background, why not? As I said, making that transition, you've got to look after your finances. So maybe take a little bit longer to move, save some money, put some money aside, get the skills that you need, figure out what you need to do. But you don't have to transition within your own industry. It's not necessary.
Yeah. Nicci, thank you so much for your time. I think we're going to have you back. There's so much more that we still want to talk about. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Devin.
Vir meeste entrepreneurs is dit die moeilikste stap om eintlik finansiering te kry. Ons neem 'n vinnige advertensiebreek en gesels net hierna oor 'n nuwe moontlike antwoord vir hierdie bepaalde probleem. Bly ingeskakel.